Coming up on Verse, Chorus, Verse, 1994 albums, ladies and gentlemen. 2 albums enter. 1 album leaves. I mean, the other album's going to leave too. It's going to be fine. That's next.
They're both leaving.
Welcome to Verse, Chorus, Verse, episode 179. Maybe we don't know. We don't know if we'll have time. We really don't. I am DL. With me is Evil. You got some splaining to do, Jimmy. I'll explain where that intro comes from later. But Evil, how are you?
I'm good. I'm really good.
Yeah.
We're hitting our groove.
I feel like you're pre-lubricated, as am I.
Yes, I
am. We had a little fun before this episode in another episode. Yeah.
Shots.
We just did a fun episode with Rachel. And now we're doing one for us. Evil, how have you been?
Really good.
The last
Since
30 minutes.
The last 30 minutes.
He's been good. He's all alone. He's
good.
flying solo.
I am. They went to a big soccer tournament, like a pro ladies.
Oh, cool.
Because Eve is super into soccer. That's why they're Disneyland. They're at Disneyland right at this moment. That was just sort of incidental because they needed something.
Well,
to
that's
do.
Awesome. What does an evil evening consist of when he has the whole house to himself? Podcasting. What will you do after this? Video games, movie?
I don't know. I'm not really. All of the television I'm watching with Megan right now. We're in the middle of For All Mankind on Apple TV. It's fucking awesome.
Never even heard of it.
It is a alternate history of what if the Soviets landed on the moon and the space race continued throughout the decades. And
that's kind of like awesome. What was the show about? Like, what if the Nazis won? Basically,
Man in the High Tower.
Yes, yeah. Kind of like that.
We haven't watched that, but
I haven't either.
On our radar. But yeah, similar. It's
on our radar. It's like 15 years old.
Yeah, fine. My radar goes way back.
Mine does too. Yeah. No, I get it. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what you're in for? A good old motherfucking fashion album exchange.
Right?
We don't do these enough. We really don't.
No, I agree.
And we kind of cheated, Evil.
I think we made the right decision.
I agree.
For the year.
Before going into this, on these specific albums, did you hold one in higher regard than the other?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't want you to tell me which is which. I didn't really hold either of these in higher. I held them in higher regard than the others because of separate things. Could I be any more fucking vague? Could that be a less interesting fucking whatever? We're doing an album exchange. Here's the cheat. We both know these albums. We do. I don't know how we'll figure out how well we both knew these albums overall, but we both knew these albums. But we wanted to keep it to 94. And we thought of maybe going obscure, but I just don't. I feel like this year we're all in on the member berries and the, right? This, it just makes more sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
So he gave me an album. I gave him an album, kind of. And we're talking about those two. You'll never guess what they are. Because now that we're on video and you can see them behind my goddamn face, you're never going to know which ones they are. Look, we wanted to add more of the album exchanges because 1994 has so many possible 10 out of 10s that we got to cover more. We've got to talk more albums than we're going to do in a way that could maybe add some 10 out of 10s on the wall. I'm going to tell you right out the gate, to make it fun. I do have at least one 10 out of 10 tonight.
I do too.
Okay. Told you it was going to be fun, everybody. I
should have held that back, but I do.
No, I think that's perfect. I think that's perfect. And it also won't ruin the what are we drinking tonight? And where is it? It's somewhere. So I have 2 drinks. I have for now I have just a straight Buffalo Trace.
Oh, yeah.
Because I haven't had Buffalo Trace in a long time, and that's silly.
Yeah.
And then I also have the Grand Mayan Extra Aged Tequila, which is shiny, so you can't see it, but I promise you it's good tequila. It's really delicious. It's very smoky, but it's really... I think I'm a wuss because I like cheap. I like expensive tequila because of how much less of a bite it has. It's just so much more.
Yeah.
Tequila is one of those liquors that I can tell the smoothness. Like the more expensive, the smoother it gets for me. I think that makes me kind of a wuss, but that's okay. But Evil, what are you drinking tonight?
Ooh, I don't have a name for it. It's an invention.
Well, that's amazing.
An Evil original. Maybe someone has made this before. I don't know.
Nope, they haven't. That's yours.
2 things. Number 1, I've been really enjoying Lafroig Old Fashions lately.
Yeah, you've talked about it a couple times.
Yeah. 2, I'm really trying to figure out ways to replace both yellow and green chartreuse in cocktails. Okay. I kind of got the yellow sorted out. We talked about that with our friend Rachel episode or so ago, a few episodes ago, whatever. For the green is harder to replace than the yellow. Number 1, because it's higher ABV, and it's just got the flavor profile is difficult. But one of the things, this is not the liqueur. This is Dolan Genepi Chamois. This is not the right one because the one that is recommended is Dolan Genepi de Alpes, which is fucking hard to find. I think I found some and I ordered it, but I did get this and I'm like, well, I got to do something with it. It's good. So this drink that I made tonight is, I guess you would say, a Manhattan spec. So 2 parts Lafroig, 1 part Dolan Genepi.
Oh,
Chamois.
Okay.
With a scant bar spoon of Benedictine, because I'm finding that adds a little extra complexity.
You're on the Benedictine lately.
Yeah. Well, it works really well with these Alpine liqueurs like the Strega and the Genepis and Chartreuse. It adds a little more complexity to them. So this is like a
Scottish
French and Scottish.
Wait, didn't the French wasn't the fucking okay? So Isaac the Bruce, didn't he do dealings with the French princess who ended up married to the king whoever's son? Fuck. Wasn't she French?
What's her name? That would be.
Oh my God! I think we're figuring it out.
Yeah.
Should we just get lazy and call it the Braveheart?
This is the Braveheart. Yes. Yeah. This is the fucking Braveheart. Well, number 1, instead of vermouth, which is like a lower ABV, this is like 90 proof. So this is a stiff ass drink.
Holy shit.
3 ounces of Lafroig, 1.5 ounces of 90 proof Genepi, and a couple dashes of Angostura, bar spoon of Benedictine. Let's have fun tonight.
We've got 2. Look, you all know what's coming. You know these albums. You know that they're fucking huge for people of our generation. It's a big deal. And I know for these 2 specific albums, this is Evil. This is a serious episode because there are going to be people tuning in specifically for these albums. Yep. These are huge. I agree. Mm-hmm. We are very aware of that. We're going to do our best, but we're also going to be drinking heavily. So who knows? We're going to take a break and we're going to get to our first album. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We've got an album to talk about. We are going to start with an album that came out in 1994. Oh,
it did.
Oh, through the London label Go Beat. Ever heard of it? No? We haven't either. And that is a testament to just many things about this album and the just how fucking good it had to be to get to where it is now. We are, of course, talking about Portishead's debut album, Dummy.
Yes.
Evil was the one that brought this to the fold. Now, Evil, the reason why you got some explaining to do is because this is not a fucking Evil album. It's not.
No.
But,
Well, yeah.
but, I have heard you say numerous times, you have brought up Portishead numerous times in the podcast. And I've always just kind of kept it in the back of my head because I've always been like, that's not an Evil thing. So you got some explaining to do. What is it? Where does this Evil Portishead love come from?
Okay. I don't even know where to start. I like more than metal. I do. It's
Prove
true.
it. Prove it.
This episode will do that.
I've tasted you like Rosalia, so
I like Rosalia. Yeah.
it's just
that's
one
true.
example. Just one proof.
Example. I like blues. I like Tedeschi trucks. I like a lot of stuff. I like good music. I am intrigued by, I've talked about this before. I like artists or bands that are a N of one. Like there's nothing like them at all.
Well,
Portishead is that fucking band. Like they're like the prototype for that band for me.
yes.
Like I had never heard anything like them before, and I've never heard anything like them after. It takes me back. There's two things about it. Number one, this album is like timeless to me. It's like a time capsule. It doesn't say it's otherworldly. It sounds like something from a fictitious world. Number one. But at the same time, it pulls me back to my freshman year of college, spending time in one of the main studios in the art building when I was like really starting to explore myself as an artist. This is one of the albums that played in like my drawing and painting classes. So I have some deep rooted ties to this music.
So to me, what I'm hearing is this was one of the artsy albums that really got you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a duh, but we're going to address it. That look, Dummy by Portishead is one of the most influential albums of our generation. Like no contest.
Yeah.
The bottom line is these people came in and did something that really, like, I'm not saying it had never been done, but it had never been done like this.
No, not even close.
It really hadn't. Adrian Utley, who, played, produced, did all this stuff. And we'll talk about, obviously we'll talk about the lead singer and her amazingness. You could say that this is a case of standing on the shoulders of giants, which that's very fair. It's not like this is the first band that it's sampled or that sort of thing. But the way that they sampled, I don't want to spoil it yet, but the influences are uncanny. So you kind of started to do a bit of an eye roll. And I want to hear your takes on when I said that
that it had been done
that
before.
Lots of people had sampled before.
Sure. But not like this. Not the mix that they did. I mean, okay, British band, and like this is the same year that
Blur.
Yeah, like all of the Britpop stuff came out.
Oasis. Yeah.
Right.
This was Blur versus Oasis year. This was the first year of
yes.
Park Life versus the Oasis album.
And there was a Primal Scream album that came out this year, but turned back a little bit to is it Screamadelica? That was like a very pivotal album that I think influenced these guys a ton.
Yeah.
There was like this weird thing that wasn't going on in the States, like this electronic sort of hip hop influence sampling that happened in Britain that wasn't happening here. And that later, yielded artists like Sneaker Pimps and even Gorillaz later on.
God damn it.
But did I steal some thunder there?
Well, you did, but this is what makes it a good podcast is I was walking through the airport today on my way home, and I don't even remember what song I was listening to, but I was like, holy fuck, the Gorillaz would not exist if it wasn't for this song. So yes, that's
right.
yes, that was a last minute I'm brilliant take that he just stole. I'm okay with that.
Well, I've thought of that many times.
It's a
listening
yeah.
to this.
It is one of those that once I thought of it, it's like smacks you in the face. It's like, well, fucking duh. Like, yeah.
Well, like we've covered the Gorillaz multiple times, and every time I'm like, I have Portishead in the back of my head thinking about them because of this album.
Yeah.
But the thing that they did, their soundscape, they were so deliberate in wanting to create something that couldn't be replicated.
Yeah.
So you have Beth's vocals, which are like that's its own conversation.
Yes.
You have the sampling and looping, like that Jeff Barrow did. Like he would like record his own music, press it to vinyl, fuck the vinyl up, like rough up the vinyl so it's scratchy and like skips and stuff, and then sample that.
Yeah.
And then you have Adrian Utley's like jazz influenced guitar that is like heavily influenced by like Ennio Morricone, like spaghetti western stuff.
God damn, that's good. Yes.
It is. And
Yes.
they're like, and they sample like the the old school 60s Mission Impossible theme. And
Yeah.
it's like
I have more on
I
that
heard
later.
someone tag this album as like, this is a soundtrack for a movie that doesn't exist. And I'm like, that is so good.
So that's one of my takes. I love that you said that. A world that doesn't really exist. I talk frequently
Yes.
about one of the things that I love about really, really good dark synthwave is because it's a soundtrack to this world that isn't real.
That
It's
isn't real.
It's this world that's kind of half post-apocalyptic, but it's also still like all neon lights and there are rich people over here doing the.
Yeah.
This album builds a world. It builds
Yeah.
this incredibly sensual, sexual, but violent, dirty, dark,
Like
sort
noir, like film
Yes.
noir.
Yes.
Almost like Sin City-ish, like Frank Miller, Sin City.
absolutely, like
But mixed
absolutely.
with like James Bond, like it's
Like,
old school, but
you
new,
cannot
like
listen
retro
to-
mod. Ugh.
Yes, you can't listen to a Portishead album without thinking of the sexiest stripper you've ever seen that is also a hitman or something. Like that's like she's not just a
Right.
stripper. Like no, she's also
No,
something
she'll
else.
outdrink you. She's smoking cigarettes,
Yes,
and she's got like a gun hidden somewhere and weapons.
yes,
like
and she's
femme
gonna
fatale.
she's gonna off some mafioso person later on in the night. Yes,
Yeah.
that's this music is not music. It's a whole thing. It's a whole
Yeah.
thing. It's
Yes.
with like you could go on to say that we wouldn't have shit like fucking John Wick if it wasn't for this. Like
Yeah.
that's how influential this music is.
And kind of tying into Gorillaz, like they created like personas for it. Like there's no personas to this. It's behind like these three are like very I don't know if I want to say shy, but they didn't want the spotlight. Like they didn't want a tour.
That's why
just
they only
wanted to
made 3
create
albums.
music, right?
They didn't want this shit.
They're very
They fit that 94 mold. They were actual
man, I love
fucking
it.
artists.
I love it so much.
They didn't give a
So
fuck.
fucking much.
They didn't give a
Yes.
fuck about any of that shit. They wanted to. They had something new that nobody had ever done, and they just wanted to express it. They didn't give a fuck about being famous. I don't know. Do I want to go here now? I don't know if I want to go here now. Yeah, let's go here. I think a lot of that had to do with Beth Gibbons. I think there could not have been a more perfect front person for a band like this, for a group like this.
Yeah.
The way that she approached the music and the way that she carried herself, she was a fucking front man in every sense of the word, dude. And it's funny because you listen to this music and it's trip hop and it's different. But she was also very like, no, if you're going to play our music, play it fucking loud. Like, you know what you're supposed to do? Like, there's interviews
Yes.
where she's like, you know what you're supposed to do? You're supposed to fuck to this. Like, that was her. She was fucking, she is fucking amazing.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you said that you should play it loud, because that was something that I came across with, I think it was a Jeff Barrow quote. He's like, people say that this is great background music. He's like, it was not made to be background music. It was made to be played fucking loud. And when I heard that, I'm like, oh, and so I started cranking it up when I listened to it, changed the whole experience for me.
Yes.
Which is amazing. And then to go back to like Beth and her sort of like take on herself, I found a great quote. She said, I'm not technically a very good singer. If anyone says I am, I know they don't know what they're talking about. If I wanted to be, I'd have to give up smoking and have lessons.
I think I'll just do this now. I'm saving this take, but I was saving this take. But you know who she is to me? Is she's a fucking modern day Billie Holiday. Like, absolutely.
I was going to put that in influences.
Like, she is fucking, like, she is the, I don't give a fuck about the how trained I am. I smoke, I drink. I'm like, I'm not this, I'm not that. But everybody listening to her is like, no, you're you're it. Yeah, you're it. What I love about this album is the concept of Portishead. To me, it says everything that this was their first album. And it's my favorite album of theirs, but I didn't not like any of their albums or anything like that. I feel like this is the type of band that the first album you hear from them is the album that you're going to love.
Yeah.
And this was the first album I heard from them.
Yeah.
When did you hear this? Because this wasn't big in the States when it came out.
It was big for me. It was playing on modern radio, like
college radio.
No, it was playing on whatever the fuck the X was, like 100.3 in
Pirate Radio or whatever.
Power 100, whatever it was at that time in 94. It played on that a lot. And I know Sour Times got a lot of play. Mm-hmm. That's the first song that I heard. And I remember buying it and just like falling in love with this album. And I had it on tape and CD. I remember having it on tape and being able to play it in that art room. We would listen to fucking Joan Baez, the band, and then shit that she'd let us bring in and play sometimes. And she liked Portishead because it was very, I don't know,
artsy.
It was so different. Yeah, artsy and different.
Okay, so here's the one thing that I want to address with you. And I want to get your thoughts on it. For me, anytime that I deal with music that samples, I'm automatically very cautious as this is brilliant, because I'm always wanting to give props to the people they sampled from.
Of course.
So where do you stand on this album as far as it's a lot of samples. It's a lot of samples from a lot of other people.
That's okay. I think it's a creative choice to sample things that can be a very low level creative choice. I think the way they do it it's additive because they're adding elements to stuff. They also sample their own music. Like I was saying, like Jeff Barrow would create stuff and then create the vinyl, like press it to vinyl and then sample that.
Cause like songs like Biscuit, he would basically, like you said, he would fucking ruin it and redo it. And yes.
Because that's not like today. That's different. Okay. I think we got to back up to 1993, 94 technology. Like there was you weren't using computers to make music.
You weren't using
like
Pro Tools and Ableton and that sort of shit. Yeah.
So they were being hyper creative and very deliberate in their choices for how they were sampling and using music. And then the layering of the guitar over the top, I think, is also brilliant. Like Sour Times is a good example because it's got that's an iconic sample. It's Mission Impossible theme.
Yeah.
But there's a drum loop and there's guitars, and the drum loop is imperfect. It's like, it's kind of janky.
Yeah.
And so I don't have a problem with the way how they're sampling, because it's just one piece to the overall big picture of what they're creating. And then I'm not even talking about her lyrics over the top.
No, it is. I agree.
Yeah.
And that's the only, I have one little bit of a hot take that I'll do later when we're doing awards and categories. But the only other thing that I'll say about this album, the only other thing that I could try to nitpick on it is that there are certain songs that, because of what they're sampling and the way that they sample it, and it's just personal preference, that there are certain resolutions and things like that I don't get, that I'm not, like, my ears are begging for and I'm not getting it. But I kind of feel like that's a part of Portishead. Like, there is that sort of, you want this? Well, I'm not going to fucking give it to you. There are times where I'm like, oh God, if they would just fucking, like on songs like Roads, going into the chorus, your ears want this sort of resolution that you do get in other songs on this album that you don't get in that one. And that's the only nitpick I have. And it's like you just heard it, it's a pretty stupid nitpick. And that's because we're like, dude, Evil, we're dealing with these fucking albums in 1994, man. Like, what the hell? Like, what were people doing back then? Like, what drug had been perfected that everybody was just in their artistic fucking...
I don't know. I'm sending you a meme right now because I want your like reaction to it, because if it's the same as mine, like, fuck me, man. Here you go.
Yes. Yes. This has been a pattern for the podcast over the last like 5 or 6 episodes. The ongoing consistency of they just don't make music like this anymore kind of thing, which I get is fucking, it's a little bit tired and it's annoying, but dude, like, put this fucking album on. Put this vinyl on the fucking on the player and tell me that they make shit like this anymore.
You know what it is? It's not that they don't make music like this, because I think there are plenty of people making really interesting music. It's that the industry doesn't have space for it.
We don't
in
hear
terms
it.
of like promotion. It just it doesn't have a venue to make it out to a broad audience. It might be finding a very narrow audience who are rabid fans of whatever artist or band is making it, but it's just not commercially viable broadly because the channel's not there for it.
Oversaturation now is a thing where, to me, and this is an elitist way of thinking, but hey, I don't care. Like, if you have shitty music, or you know your music's not good enough yet, or your podcast isn't good enough yet, or your whatever isn't good enough yet, don't come out with it. Save it. Wait, so that we don't have to wade through the bullshit. Like, there could be many bands out like this, but we don't get to hear it because we're busy wading through bullshit. And that's the problem with the Spotify era, is that there's 10 million bands out there now that can get you their music.
Right. The large labels back in this era were a double-edged sword. On the downside is they controlled things greatly. Yes. But on the good side is they were a threshold. Like, you had to be fucking amazing to get to the level of broad distribution. The caveat to that is like I said, I heard this on the same music, like the same station that was playing fucking the Black album still in heavy rotation. The album we're going to talk about next, all of the shit that we've covered up until this point this year, and then dating back to like Zeppelin and stuff like that. So there was room for variety in music channels, but everything was good. Like, the variety was stylistically and in terms of genres broad, but everything was top notch. Like,
it absolutely was. Yes. And to me, I feel like this album epitomizes that. Like, I feel like if you were to bring up 1994 and be like, what is the album that proves that every fucking genre was not only represented, but was just at the peak of its ability. Well, Dummy from Portishead came out. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you win. The only other thing I have on this album, you've hinted at it a couple times, is that Gibbons is a goddamn motherfucking G. Like, my
Right?
God. Yes. Subtle and self-deprecating and cocky as shit in her music. Like
Her
the
music,
way
yeah.
that she projects during her singing.
Dude. The swagger side
Yes.
of the Stanton Triangle.
The Stanton
Holy
Triangle.
Shit. This band has
Yes.
so much swagger, and so much of that is her vocal delivery. Oh my God.
Yes. To me, there's always been a huge, huge amount of sexuality in this music, but there's also been this side of this, and you hinted at the lyrics and things like that, but even just the music. If there was a soundtrack to clinical depression, it would be this album. And that's what fascinates me, is that you love this. And that's just that doesn't seem like an evil thing. I feel like this album is proof that you have an enormous range of music interest.
Don't tell anybody that.
Okay. It's a lie. He likes metal and he likes Portishead, and that's it.
No, you're not far removed from the truth with that. But there are artists and bands that just transcend so many things to a level that they're just undeniably good, and this is one of them. This is definitely one of them.
You're putting things well very frequently in this episode.
I blame the Lefroy Genetti elixir that I'm drinking here.
Wanna stay right by your side, 'cause you and me, we fit together
So
naturally.
let's get to awards and categories for Dummy by Portishead. Now, I don't know why this surprised me. It shouldn't. But the David Crosby Meh Award for bad reviews, there was none. There were 6 bad reviews, and they were all about the vinyl being warped.
Yeah, okay,
So-
that's fair. I mean, that's a fair complaint. I'd be pissed if my
I'd be
vinyl
pissed.
when it shows up for this is warped. I will be pissed.
But still, like, this is a 94 album that was huge. There were a ton of reviews. Not one negative review. Not one fucking douchebag from 1998 being like, "Oh, fuck this fucking stupid." No, there was nothing. The What's Love Got to Do With It award. This is an interesting one for me, and it kind of to what I was talking to you about how this just seems like such a unique band for you to like. So I'm interested in your answer to this question.
That is the answer. I like them because of how out of left field they are for me to like. I like that they are just like so obscure and bizarre of a band, this trio of like Brits who are especially at this, when they recorded it, when this came out, their age range was like
oh yeah,
all spread out. It's like this
yeah
ragtag group of musicians from different backgrounds and
I didn't even touch
influences that have
Fucking damn.
zero. They do not belong together on paper, and I fucking love that about them. I think how oddball they are is what makes me love them more so than if they were like friends that grew up and had some story. It was just like this group of people who sort of like by happenstance random together and created this beautiful piece of artwork.
Every now and then I just have to admit that Evil just kicks my ass all over one part of an episode, and he's kicking my ass. Every single take has been fucking gold. So my What's Love Got to Do With It? This is the band. Like there was no bias here. This was the band. The first time that you hear Portishead, if somebody shows it to you, you are putty in their hands for the rest of your life. The DMX award, what makes this unique? This is an LOL. Like everything is. There's nothing that doesn't make this unique. Ironically, you could argue that samples are, they're taking stuff from other people, which that's fair. But this is. I will speak more to this on my influences and influencees. Evil. What's your DMX award?
This is almost a copy paste answer from the previous one. It's such an oddball mix of musicians and influences.
Yeah.
That it is greater than the sum of its parts. Like it's like a Fender Stratocaster on paper shouldn't be as good as it is, but it's a guitar that's greater than the sum of its parts. This band is greater than the sum of its parts. How dare you?
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Right. Yeah. Like if you take her amazing vocals, like each piece is an N of one, like, and then you bring them together and it's like a factor beyond that in terms of like how unique it is.
Let's go right over to the Mark Lanigan True Rockstar Award. Evil, going right back to you.
I think they're just absolutely wild level of creativity mixed with their antisocial attitude to it. Like they are driven or were driven to create this amazing piece of art and then didn't want to be in the spotlight for it. Like they thought that they would record 2, 3, 4 albums before they'd even come to the US.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's adorable. That's how they thought. And of course they blew up. And
you look at what okay, first off, in 1994, if you're in fucking Britain, you're looking at the shit that's coming out in America and you're like, "Oh my God, we are getting our fucking asses kicked." Like why the fuck would anybody listen to anything we've got going on when they've got what they've got going on in Seattle and all that shit? Like who's going to fucking listen to us? And I think that's one of the big reasons that Park Life by Blur was such a huge deal, because it was kind of like this anthematic album of like, hey, like we're still London, we still fucking rule. Right. We're still good punks. But yeah, I could see where a band like Portishead, where a group like Portishead would start this and be like, who the fuck is going to listen to this? And I have no clue that every single person was waiting for something like this.
And at the same time, like absolutely pouring their life and effort into the music. Like they were trying as hard as they could to make the best, most creative, most inventive, most original stuff they could. So it's like the unassuming nature of that.
Yeah,
it's very British,
it's funny because
actually.
I feel like you agree with me, and we're going to get some shit for this, but I like it. 94 was the big Oasis versus Blur thing.
Right. This was the best album.
Portishead won. Like, here's Portishead, like in the side. Like, we don't give a fuck. Yeah, they won. Sorry. Sorry, all you music lovers that fucking love Oasis. We're going to get in trouble for that one. That's all right. The unintentional coolness. Like everything they did.
Yeah.
Who in a group like this gets an interview and is like, no, you got to play our fucking music loud. Like,
absolutely. I love that so much.
Those are fucking rock stars. Like, that's a rock star. Overrated, underrated, properly rated. I personally am saying properly because I really do in both ways. I feel like anytime you mention, I've never heard the day I hear somebody say, if I say, hey, dummy, Portishead, if they're not like, oh my God, then they're kind of, I'm worried about them.
Yeah, I like that they named the album Dummy because if you don't like it, that's what you are.
That's a good dad joke. I like that. Influences and influencees. We've talked a ton about this, but I feel like there's more to say. Evil, do you have anything else on this?
I do. Like the one that I found, and she's actually performed with them, is the Cocteau Twins, who I was not familiar with. And huge influence on her.
Good.
I mean, they're kind of like this 80s synth sort of feel. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun to dive into when I have the time. She actually was like doing Joplin covers when they got together. So there's that. Massive Attack.
The twins or Beth?
Beth was doing Joplin covers.
Are you serious?
Yep. She was like singing in bars doing Joplin.
Oh my God.
When she and Jeff
If
Barrow,
I couldn't love them anymore.
Right?
Oh my God.
He was Jeff Barrow, by the way, working in the same studio as Massive Attack. So clearly there's correlation there. Right?
That's a huge shocker. Yeah. Yeah.
And then Adrian Utley, he was a Hendrix fan, number one. That's his favorite guitar player. But he brought in like the James Bond, Ennio Morricone sort of soundtrack vibe,
trippy, like calmer go-go stuff sort of thing.
If anything makes them like the killer app, it's that guitar being layered in really subtle ways. That's
that
guitar
guitar type with the amazing Fender Rhodes playing is So I thought I was brilliant by giving the Gorillaz and the Billie Holiday. Turns out that was already like everybody was. I wasn't brilliant. I wasn't. But I do think that there are some other, darker synth stuff like Kraftwerk. I think Kraftwerk was a big influence for these people.
For sure.
And then influencees, like I said, you can go as far as the ridiculousness of environments, of actors, Alt-J, Two Door Cinema Club, anything house, anything techno. How about you listen to some of these songs and tell me that like fucking gangster rap wasn't influenced by these? Like,
yes. And influences, I found a common thread between this album and the next album that we're going to talk about that blew my mind because I have no frame of reference, and I'll save it for that conversation when we get there.
Honestly, everybody, listen to Pedestal and tell me that there isn't gangster rap in there. That like 3-6 Mafia and fucking people like this weren't influenced by this, or at least their producers.
Any like modern hip hop,
how about any producer ever? How about that?
Yes. Like anything with drum loop was from 94 until today was somehow influenced by this, if even indirectly.
Influences and influencees. I think a huge influence we haven't even touched on yet that deserves major props is the Beastie Boys. I feel like the Beastie Boys are massive influences for these guys.
Oh my God. Amazing take. Yes.
And then influencee, one of my favorite bands that they only came out with a couple albums, but I love them. And I don't know if anybody else does, but there was a group that came out in the early 2000, in the mid 2004ish, She Wants Revenge was the name of the group. Super. Well, they remind me a lot of Portishead. The Nevermind the Bullocks Award. Evil, is this their best album? Is it even close?
I'm gonna say yes, and here's why. And I. Full disclosure, I have not listened to their third album yet. Okay. And I almost bought it yesterday. I probably will now.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but Evil has a vinyl problem.
I didn't buy it because I bought a Van Halen album instead that was $100. Anyway.
Did you buy
their live
album?
Oh,
no, you bought the live one.
Yeah, I bought the
I thought you were saying you found the other one that you'd been looking for.
No, fuck. That was like $600, but whatever.
You bought a $100 vinyl?
It's a set.
Oh, Evil. He's a newbie, guys. He's a newbie.
Got a problem.
Okay.
I think here's the thing is when you hear something for the first time that sounds like this, anything after is going to be
Yes.
Like, it's going to be flavored by that first impression. This is the Simpsons album for them.
This is the Simpsons of music. That's a great take. John Paul Jones Award. I'm not doing this one because I respect. There's something about Portishead, and I don't know what it is, that I would never mention them as one of my favorite bands, but I respect them too much to even answer that for. It's silly, but I wouldn't. And the only answer I could think of is it would be really fucking cool to hear like Billie Holiday on one of these, but then you wouldn't have Beth. So I don't think there's an answer for this one for me.
They did it for us. They incorporated music that should have never worked together. They took care of that for us.
They John Paul Jones'd us.
They did.
I've been waiting for this one because you've alluded to things a couple times. The John Prine Best Lyric Award. Evil, what do you got?
Covered by the blind belief that fantasies of sinful screens bear the facts, assume the die. In the vows, no need to lie. Enjoy, take a ride, take a shot now, because nobody loves me. It's true, not like you do.
Man, that's all right. God damn, she's good. So I have two. I'll do the easy one first. Well, neither of them are. I don't know why I said easy. Did you realize no one can see inside your view? Did you realize for why this site belongs to you? That's fucking awesome. How obtuse it is to think that your way is the way. She said it a little more eloquently than I did. And that's the point. And then my other one is the chorus to Wandering Stars. Wandering Stars, for whom it is reserved, the blackness, the darkness, forever.
Yeah.
Evil, we have to start with you. The Danube. Why did I say? Oh, I know why I said that. Jesus Christ. The Eddie Van. He's drunk. The Eddie Van Halen Award for Best Riff. Evil.
This is going to be a weird one. It's tied into the No Dude Seriously Award as well. And it's the weird dissonant, I think it's like an A. It's a weird dissonant note that kind of drives the track for Strangers.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but it's that repeating, like,
you know who it sounds like, who would be influenced by these guys. You're talking about the kind of, it's almost like a distorted bass line.
Yeah.
The wow. You know who that sounds like?
It's like the high note over the top of it. It's like the beep. Yeah. Yes.
You know who Stranger sounds like, and I literally just realized it, and it's an influence. Thanks to them, I would say probably more than because of them, but fucking Beck.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
holy shit, 100%.
Totally Beck. Like that.
Yeah.
That low, that blah, along with a
Yeah.
that's fucking Beck, dude.
Yeah, it's like an
You're
alarm
welcome.
going off.
Beck, you're welcome. Mine is you've talked about it actually, the Mission Impossible, the Danube incident symbol. That's why I said it. The symbolum in it. You know that kind of when you listen to Sour Times and you hear that that kind of thing. That's called a symbolum, and that's the coolest fucking sound I've ever heard in any music ever.
That I avoided Sour Times because I have it listed in so many awards and categories because they lifted that theme, but that fucking theme is so good. And I
have a hot take on that later.
All right.
Evil Surfer, Rosa Award.
I think it's even. I think that there is good stuff. I think there's some of the best stuff in the second half. Sour Times, Strangers is in the first half. Mysterion starts out. It's start to finish. It's just structured so well. So
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if with what they did with this type of music and everything that
Right.
there'd even be some sort of, well, this side's better, this side. No, there's no way.
I mean, it ends with Glory Box. I mean, come on.
The no, dude, seriously award.
I'm
Was it-
cheating here, because it involves their live performance from 1998.
Oh.
And if you watch, they recorded a live album in 1998, and if you listen to their performance of Strangers, I mean, you will understand why this band is so fucking good, because they have like an orchestra. It's like, it is.
Oh, I haven't heard
Holy
it.
shit, man! It is.
I'll go listen to it
else.
tonight.
Oh, dude.
My No Dude Seriously award is Glory Box. I'll give you a huge spoiler right now. It is not one of my top 3 favorites on this, but it's the best fucking song on this album. It is. Like,
Ooh,
if you were to ask me
I
what the
dodged a
best
bullet.
song is.
Because we
you
were
were
supposed
to-
to pick each other's favorites.
Oh,
and I was
goddamn
gonna-
shit ass.
I was
Yes.
going to pick Glory Box for you.
God damn it. I'm getting really bad at this, you guys. Let's go to the hardest award. Time of Your Life award, Evil. What's the worst song on this album?
Nope.
You don't have a bad... I wonder which album he gave a 10 out of 10. I'm confused. I said Rhodes for the reason that I talked about earlier, that there are certain things in Rhodes where, and I get it. I get why it's so popular. You have that Fender Rhodes at the beginning that's just so fucking killer. And it reminds, like I said, I love She Wants Revenge, and this is such a She Wants Revenge sort of thing. But you know, like when she sings that, like, how can it feel so wrong? You want a resolution right there. You want to drop to a chord that you don't get. And as dumb as it is, it drives me fucking nuts. It does. So
You know
that
what's crazy? That is not by any means my top song on the album. In researching it, that song has so much praise. It's like Portishead.
that was the European song. That was it, dude. That was it. That was the song in Europe.
I don't get it. That's in the bottom half of my songs for the album. It wasn't on my radar as being the top song, like in the top 4 or 5 songs on
It
the
has
album
the
at
second
all.
most downloads on Spotify
get it,
besides
man.
Glory Box.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't-
102 million downloads. There's no resolution. I want it. Evil, I'll go first because this is your album. My number 3, and it's just because, look, there's one song on this album. There's one that has a little bit of a positive vibe to it. Everything is dark
yep.
and sinister and a little bit of like subdued violence, almost perverseness there. Not perverseness, but like almost like a dark sexuality, except for It's a Fire. Right? Like it's the only one, right, Evil? He's making a sly smile.
I love that song.
It's great. It's fantastic. It's refreshing when you get to that song. It's like, oh God, I needed a break from this because I was going to. Once again, just to me, this album is fucking depressing. Like it's not an easy listen to me.
You know,
You're
I saw,
feeling
like,
a lot when you listen to this.
in some interviews, not Beth, but the other 2 members were like responding to sort of like criticism of the album, of like her, like that, like back then people were like, oh, she must be like in a really bad place. And they're like, no, she's like super happy. She's just, and I think part of that was because of number 1, because it is a very morose kind of sounding album.
But that's how
And-
you exercise
and-
your fucking shit.
Exactly. But also that paired with her sort of aversion to publicity, people just assumed that she was in a bad place, and they're like, yeah. She's actually doing really good.
No,
really
she's great.
good.
She's
Yeah,
great.
she just doesn't
She
fucking
gets
like
on
people.
stage, she screams her depression out, and then she disappears, and it's magic.
I fucking love that so much.
I do too. So much that you punched your mic. My number 2, and it's just this song. I almost make it sound like a complaint with this like clinical depression thing that I'm saying, but we know me. We know that I want that more than anything. Wandering Star has that ongoing bass line and that boom, boom, boom. It's so fucking dark and it's so cool.
That it's dissonant too. That
It is.
Yeah.
That song is the perfect example to me of how a song can be so dark and she's just kind of fucking sexy singing through it. Like it's fucking amazing and I love it to death. And I this is very uninventive and I apologize, but some things are popular for a reason. And my number one song is Sour Times. It's that string down, that da-na-na with the little jangle behind it. I could listen to that every day for the rest of my life and I could be happy.
So cool.
It is. Nobody loves me. It's true. Evil, what are your 3 best songs on this album?
Okay, I have I don't know if this is an honorable mention, but other than I just want to point it out. Mysterions, the opening track has like this theremin sounding thing.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking does that in modern music? Even if it was modern music in 1994, who puts a
awesome.
theremin sound in music? Like what?
Cool people like Beck, who I'm now starting to see more and more. That I wonder how much Beck says that Portishead was. Yeah,
one of his.
I love it.
Except my number 3, my official number 3 is Strangers. I already talked about it. Go watch the live performance of it from their 1998.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to.
Oh my god. My number 2 is actually my favorite song on the album. It's my number 2 on the album, but it's my favorite, and that's Sour Times. If I was like gun to my head, you can only pick one song.
I gotcha.
To put on an album.
Take with you for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's Sour Times. And I think part of that's just that was the first one I had heard, and
it's because it's the best. It's because it's
so
fucking
good.
amazing. Yeah.
It's so good and it's so unique and it's just it's
good. Is.
My number 1 is the closer. It's Glory Box. I picked it as your number 1. When we were doing, hey, let's pick the number 1 song.
I would have drank
back in the day.
I would have drank because it's the best song on the album. It really is. It's not my favorite. It's the best song on the album.
I agree. It's not my favorite. This band, listening to Portishead makes me want to smoke cigarettes and drink shitty bourbon, like well liquor. Like go to a bar.
Yeah.
Like
go to a shitty bar, drink shitty liquor, smoke cigarettes. With the most beautiful woman you've ever met.
Find some woman to break your heart.
Like, yes. And then spend like 10 hours with her and then have her just break your fucking heart.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I am well beyond that phase of life.
Me too.
But
thank God. Yes.
Right.
Evil, who won the album?
1994 won this album.
1994 won so many albums.
It so did, didn't it?
It did. I want to say Adrian Curley because the bass lines on this make the album. They really do. But here's the problem. Beth Gibbons is Beth Gibbons. And it doesn't matter. I'm not saying either of them. Ha 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 ha. The Human Race won this album because from this point forward,
dude,
Sexy Cool had a soundtrack. And it's fucking Dummy by Portishead. That's who won the album. We all won the album. We won. We win.
The thing is if I talk to somebody about music and this album comes up and they're like, oh yeah, that's one of the best albums ever, I will like that person regardless of race, gender, political affiliation, like culture, whatever. I'm just like, you are my person.
Here's the big one. Rating this album. And here is my hot take to end the night, and I feel comfortable doing this because I don't think it matters. I am giving this 9 out of 10 weird, dark movie sex scenes. And the reason that I'm giving it 9 out of 10 is because, to me, the best song on my favorite song on this, which is Sour Times, is very, 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 very taken from a different song. And I have a hard time doing that. I really do. Like
yeah.
if you listen to the song from Mission Impossible, which I wrote it down, I lost it again, but it's like Mira, whatever it is, fucking if you go listen to that, it is kind of that song. Like it really is. And I have a hard time justifying that.
I'm okay with that.
But now we get to Evil. Evil, rate this album.
I would have a hard time in general coming up with the top 10 albums of all time. So I don't think this is in it. It is for sure in the top 20 for me.
Wow.
It is a 10 out of 10. Always has been. Probably always will be.
So this is one of your 20 best albums of all time.
Yes. Yes. Wow. And
That's...
it is probably the most oddball album in that 20.
Wow.
And that makes it better to me.
Absolutely.
Because
absolutely.
Of what I said. Like it's one of the reasons I like them is they don't make sense in being in any list of mine, any top whatever list of mine. It fucking makes no sense. But I have loved this album since 1994. So for 30 years, I have absolutely loved this album.
We're adding another one to the wall, ladies and gentlemen, and that is Portishead, Dummy. We got to take a break, and then we got to get to our episode on Thursday because this has definitely turned into a double, ladies and gentlemen. Evil, it's been real. I'll see you in 3 days.
God, I got to go make another drink.
You do. Haha. Good night and good luck.